At a social gathering, I had to have the flat earth debate. This is a very different video than one that I've made so far. I'm very excited to open this can of worms with you. I'm a little bit nervous because it's the internet, but I'm excited nonetheless because this is my bread and butter. We're talking about science and spirituality. Or is it science versus spirituality? Hi, my name is Abby. Welcome to my channel. On this channel, we talk manifestation, spirituality, a little bit of science stuff, and do tarot and guidance cards readings all in the name of living our highest timeline. Now, what you may not know about me is I went to university and I majored in physics and pure maths. And I know what a contradiction to now be doing tarot readings on the internet and talking about spirituality. One, I think this is what makes me the perfect person to talk about this. And two, I have the expertise and experience on both sides of the spectrum to help bring these two ideas together, and hopefully we can come to some kind of middle ground in understanding. I'm going to go through some history of science and its relationship to religion to really show this to you, that science isn't about finding the one answer. It's about finding answers that work for us, that help us predict. I also want to say that when I'm talking about spirituality and particularly religion, I am going to be focusing it on a sort of Eurocentric, westernized Christian Abrahamic religion basis, just because that's the one I have the most exposure to and the most sort of innate knowledge about, having grown up in a uniting church school. I wouldn't call myself a Christian today, but just because I grew up in Australia, and this is just the one I had the most exposure to, and I just don't feel comfortable or like I have enough knowledge to incorporate Eastern philosophy and Eastern religions in this discussion. I feel like there's lots of people who are much better out there to do that. So I'm just sort of giving you the playing field for this discussion. Let's take a journey back in time. Humans have always been searching for meaning, purpose, and understanding from, I don't know, the time we first became conscious, which there's a debate around that and how that all works. But we were curious about the stars. We were curious about fire, about water, about the air.
Water, earth, fire, air.
About what made people sick. Why did the ocean go in and out? How do we grow the best foods? How do we make sure our plant survives, etc.? So all of these things probably came from curiosity, but I think survival mostly. In this video, I'm going to focus mostly on the area of physics and astrophysics, just because that's my specialty. That's what I studied at university, and so it's the one I know the most about, and I think it's the most interesting. But science encompasses medical science, biology, environmental science, chemistry, etc. So I'm going to sort of stay away from social sciences in this discussion, because I think social sciences kind of overlaps with our understanding of religion and people and cultures. So I feel like that's too much of like an overlap. So yeah. Before scientific developments and in the times of pagan and polyolithic religions, people explained natural phenomena, including human behavior as well, with gods and spirits. There are similarities across different cultural groups as well. These are a few examples. So we have like the sun god from ancient Egypt, Ra, who rode across the sky, and that was the sun coming across the sky, obviously due to now what we understand to be planetary movement, but that was their explanation back then. We've also got agricultural gods, fertility gods, water and ocean gods, think Poseidon, got gods of death. Another example is Vulcan from ancient Rome, where Vulcan's anger caused volcanic eruptions, so we're trying to explain why do volcanoes occur with the gods. And now we understand that to be magma rising up, usually along tectonic plate lines, where the weak spots are. So they're just a few examples about how God, spirituality, and religion have been used to explain natural phenomena that we witness in our world, because we're trying to understand why does it happen. And also, if you didn't really understand or have a reason for why the sun came up in the morning, you might be scared that it won't come up the next day. So I'm not having a go at ancient peoples for their beliefs or their their explanations for things that we understand today. I think it's really fascinating to think about that people have always been people, and they've always been searching for meaning, always been searching for answers. And it's really interesting to hear their different explanations and what parts of life were important enough to people and to cultures to come up with a whole God to control that aspect or appease that aspect. Now, the science and religion, or science versus religion, talk has been going on for millennia. Let's talk about a few of the ideological battles and shifts that have happened in history to understand that this is nothing new, that the battle, I don't think there should be, but the battle between science and spirituality or science and religion has been ongoing for a while, and today's day is nothing new. So the first thing I want to talk about is people trying to understand how we got here. Think Genesis, creation. How did we get here? How did humans get here? How did we get here on Earth? How did the Earth form? In Christianity, there's a story of Genesis or creationism. So there's the 7 days, and I don't know heaps, but there's the 7 days that God took to make the universe, the Earth, and then, and then there was light, that kind of story. And then we've also got the story of Adam and Eve for how humans became here, or how they started here, and that we all come from Adam. So science has got a different theory. I wouldn't call religions, it's a belief, it's not a theory. But science has the Big Bang, which came about in the 1920s by Friedman, Hubble, and Lemaitre. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, and this opposed intelligent design and Genesis. So intelligent design being like a God deliberately created. And not just Christianity has this belief that God's created things specifically with intelligent design. Religions throughout all of history, even the ancient ones, ancient Egypt, ancient Greek, ancient Roman, which is just a copy of the ancient Greek, they all have a story about how things were created by the gods. But we have the Big Bang. The Big Bang is one of my absolute favorite theories. So I think I'll do like a, because I love talking about this stuff. This is like, I could talk about it forever. I'm really excited to start talking about science stuff on here. So I think I'll do a separate video on like the Big Bang, on like my favorite things that I think really just share the magic of science. But anyway, the Big Bang is basically like we started from a point of singularity and a burst of high energy, and then that high energy makes things fuse together and makes things expand, and then heavier things, you've got things spinning around and moving, and heavier things clump together due to gravity, and then you've got them being pressed together and that's still high energy, so then they're fusing more and they're burning, and you get star formation, and then you get gravity and momentum making galaxy formation, and then you've got heavier elements being produced inside of stars, and on and on and on. Then we get to planets. But I'll dedicate a whole video to the Big Bang because it deserves it, and I'll do it in a fun way, a way that makes you see the magic of science, because I think it's beautiful. And whenever I hear a new theory or revisit ones that I already know about, I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Anyway, and then we also have for Adam and Eve, to counter Adam and Eve, we have Evolution by Charles Darwin from 1859. Next, I'm a bit worried to talk about this because I may make some enemies on the internet, but I do not care if this is what it's about. We've got the flat Earth versus round Earth debate. So flat Earth, people believe that the Earth is flat some reason because they think the Bible said that the Earth had to be flat, a flat disc. I don't think it ever says that, but anyway. Some people also believe that there's a huge ice wall at the end of the Earth, and what is beyond the ice wall? Possibly 20 other continents, possibly nothing, possibly, I don't know, the people ruling us, I'm not sure. I don't think they even follow their own logic, but actually, maybe now I'll actually insert some of the flat Earth TikToks. I went down a flat Earth TikTok rabbit hole one day. I was hate watching, and oh my gosh, the rage bait, seriously. Anyway, so here are some examples.
You stay clueless like good little sheep.
We're supposed to be on a ball, right?
And also, like, I don't get why flat Earth is tied to religion and spirituality. I don't get why having a flat Earth or having a round Earth makes your life any different. Like, if new science came out tomorrow and it proved that the Earth was flat, I'd be like, okay. Like, because it doesn't change my life. So I don't get why it's a big... Anyway, At a social gathering last year, I had to have the flat earth debate with a few different people. And they're lovely people. I think there's just like a lot of misinformation going on, and also the sort of tying with flat earth or anti-science with spirituality, and I'm talking like new age spirituality and like rather than religion right now, is really dangerous, and I don't see why they have to be linked. I would say that I am a spiritual person, or I believe in greater powers or greater power within myself. Yeah, I don't see why they have to be divorced from each other. So I also want to clear up that I've seen from TikTok trends in like these flat earth theories and stuff that there's this idea that like NASA is the be all and end all of like space and like astronomy and astrophysics, and that they're the only ones who like are dictating what people know. And it's like actually the study of astronomy and space has been going on for millennia, and NASA is just the American space agency. Like that's all it is. And there are plenty of other space agencies across the world from other countries who are also doing research. And yeah, I just want to get out. I just want to get away from this idea, and I would really want to like encourage people to understand that there's not one monolith in science being like, this is what you need to believe. There are so many different bodies now across different countries, universities, space programs, research programs doing their own research. Privately funded research, that's a whole other thing, but we're not talking about that. And research has been going on. These theories have been developing for hundreds of years, if not thousands. So, for example, with the flat earth theory, Pythagoras in 6th century BCE, someone came up with the theory that the earth was round. And this is due to triangles. And I think I'll do a whole other video on flat earth because I would love to prove why Pythagoras could do this, or demonstrate what Pythagoras was talking about or how he came to this conclusion. Pythagoras was ancient Greek philosopher, mathematician. His conclusion that the earth is round actually came from triangles, which is pretty cool. I'm also a maths person, so we're just opening a can of worms here by letting me talk about science on the internet. Then we have Copernicus and Galileo in 1543 and 1616 respectively versus the Catholic Church. So both Copernicus and Galileo were espousing the heliocentric model of the solar system, so where the sun is in the middle of the planets and the planets orbit the sun, and that we're round bodies in the universe. And the Catholic Church considered this heresy at the time because it was saying that the sun was the center, and shouldn't Earth be the center of like God's attention, or the center of the universe? And that was really the problem that they had with it. So that was at the latest 1616, so over 400 years ago. Nowadays, quantum mechanics, which the research into that started at the early 1900s, and Einstein's famous quote, "God does not play with dice." This one is sort of not really versus religion or spirituality, because I think spirituality, new age spirituality particularly, is co-opting quantum mechanics, and I will do a whole, there are so many videos coming. I'll do a whole video on that, about what's going on with that, about what to believe, how to interpret it. There are some really wonderful results from quantum mechanics that will blow your mind. Do they support the claims that spiritual people or manifestation gurus are claiming? Well, we'll just talk about that in that video, won't we? Now, Einstein wasn't actually a religious man. And when he said God does not play with dice about quantum mechanics, so quantum mechanics, he's saying not play with dice because quantum mechanics is saying that the states that an electron could be in are all probabilistic. There's a probability wave function for an electron that describes particles. When we observe that particle, that it collapses the wave function into one point. But before we do that, the particle had the potential or the probability to be in any of those states based on the wave function. So there's obviously different probabilities for different states. And Einstein didn't like that, not because it went against God playing with dice, but because it went against the deterministic philosophy. It's not a religious belief. A deterministic philosophy is more one like, if this happens and this has to happen, then this has to happen, and this has to happen, that there is no chance or guessing in the universe. So that's what Einstein was saying. He wasn't actually saying that it goes against God, but it did go against other philosophies of the day. So that's why I'm bringing it up here. So science does challenge whether it's religion, spirituality, or philosophy, it does challenge how we look at the world and how we view the world. It can make us question beliefs. It can make us question how we thought the world worked. And that is the wonderful thing about science, I think. I think we should embrace it. It's very natural and normal for science to do that, and for new science, especially when it comes out, for us to be like, because it's a shock to the system, it is contradictory to what we think we know, and it's hard to accept new truths. And so I'm not knocking anyone for being reluctant to accept new science or old science in the case of the round earth. Science also has a problem, a PR problem, if you will. Specialists across different areas of science, whether it's astrophysics, particle physicists, thermal physicists, biologists, microbiologists, I don't know a lot about biology, chemistry, food chemistry, like they're all scientists, right? They are all researching and finding new information, but they all have a very specific set of expertise and a very niche interest. And as you go through university and higher level education, honors, PhDs, becoming research assistants or researchers, you only get more and more specialized. And so the problem I think that science has sometimes is that the jargon, the niche set of like foundational understanding you need to have to understand these new articles, like scientific articles that are coming out, or new claims, to be able to interrogate claims that are made by TikTokers or by YouTubers, people who know what they're speaking about, people who don't know what they're speaking about, is really difficult because everyone needs such a specific set of foundational understanding to really understand what's going on. That's why it's really important to pay attention to people's credentials when they're talking about things. That might be rich coming from me, but pay attention to who is speaking and use your critical thinking skills. So why would this person want me to believe this? What would it mean if I did believe this? Like if there was an agenda, what would be the reason why they would want me to believe this thing? And normally there shouldn't be a reason for them to force you to believe something that is not true. That's what I think when I come across conspiratorial sounding TikToks about scientists have discovered blah, 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 or did you know, da, 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 or the flat earth TikToks that I came across. I was like, if I didn't know anything, let's say I wasn't someone who had a science background or knew anything about science or was a very like impressionable person, how could I stop myself from being indoctrinated by these videos? And I thought to myself, well, I would have to ask, like, the biggest question I couldn't answer was, why would someone want me to believe this? Because again, as I said before, the earth being flat doesn't change anything about your day-to-day life. It doesn't, like, let's say the government had been lying to us this whole time about the earth being flat. Like, what would they gain? How could they control me or, take away my quality of life or get me to do things that I don't want to do by convincing me that the earth was round? Like, there's absolutely no logic in it. There's no reason for them to convince me that the earth is round when it's actually flat. Like, it doesn't change anything. So yeah, ask yourself, why would someone want you to believe that? I'm going to give you some more examples of those, like AI type videos and conspiratorial science videos on TikTok right now.
The education system has been lying to us all this time.
We all know NASA is a space company. It's trying to find life out there.
Operation Fishbowl was an experiment by the U.S. government where they detonated.
You can tell from the tone of these videos that they're here to install fear in you or to get you to question or distrust government, science, and I think that's really dangerous in today's society. I think question everything, but not question everything as in don't believe anything. It's question, interrogate, are they trying to convince you of something? Why would they be trying to convince you of that? And what would the impact be if that thing was true? How would it change your life, or how would it change the world if that belief was true that they're espousing? Also, like, be mindful that some stuff is rage bait, but there is also a growing, especially in, I don't want to be like US centric because again, I live in Australia and there is like a whole other world outside of the US, but I have noticed in the US, we've heard about censoring in regards to science of certain words, like banned words for government documents and for academia. So like there is a real need to keep science as science and to stop cultural, religious, and spiritual influence harming science, because science helps get you medicine. It helps predict natural disasters. It helps your cell phone, your internet. It helps power your home. It is the reason we have life-saving medical machinery. People think like that, oh, that's just medical science. No, that's physicists are working on that, and the physicists work with the medical sciences so that their physics that they're researching, looking into, has an application that is important in the real world. So all these branches of science culminate together in the wonderful, sometimes life-saving inventions that we have today. So it is really important to keep science pure and free from influence from other areas of human society. And with like these TikTok videos, I know I sound like I'm going on about it, but like you may look at it and be like, oh, that's so ridiculous. Like, why would anyone believe that? Why would anyone believe an AI video where there's a hand sticking out the side of a shark that they're showing? Like, it seems ludicrous. But you look in the comments and there are people out there who are not watching with a critical eye. There are people out there who are not looking close enough. There are people out there who are believing this stuff. There are people out there being caught up in the fear from it. I've been sent TikToks by people in my real life where I'm like, what did you just send me? Like, is this a parody? And they're dead serious. They're just like those people at the gathering that I was talking about. Like, they were dead serious. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do some real work here to dispel some of this misinformation about the world and how it works and how science works and what it is. And I mean, it's a really great opportunity as well, because I love talking about space and I love talking about the things, the niche topics that I know. So it was a really beautiful experience that way to share that with other people. But yeah, like, it is important and it is happening. Like, hopefully it's not happening in your circles, but be aware of it. Now, science has power. Science has been and is still slowly eroding the tyrannical oppression of the Christian church. And like, that sounds so dramatic, but think about like back in the Renaissance, the tension between Copernicus and Galileo and other scientists of the day and the Catholic Church was going on. This was all around the time as well that people were like, you should publish the Bible in English or in, languages that are not just Latin, because no one can read Latin, so that the common people can read it. And we've got Luther's 99-point thesis or 99 theses that he pinned to the door. Like, this is all happening at a time where pushback against the Catholic Church was really significant, and it helped liberate people. They could read their own Bibles. They could, the church had such an influence on state and power as well. And it was able to be a part of the pushback on the Catholic Church to liberate the people. And it's still happening. I think the more we understand religion, and again, I don't see that there's anything wrong with organized religion necessarily. I think we can find meaning and purpose without listening to someone else or from a book. I think we can look within, we can look to each other. But anyway, this is not a religion-hating channel. It's more of a critical thinking channel. And I think you can be both religious and critically thinking. But I think science's role in eroding the power of the church and of other religions as well is really significant, because it helps people be like, oh, we should question this, and maybe we should update our beliefs. And, maybe it doesn't matter that there was this book written 2,000 years ago, allegedly, because it has some truths and some not truths. It has some great stories and moral lessons and some things that are not entirely accurate or meaningful. And it also depends on how you're interpreting religious texts as well. So some people take it literally, some people take it as an analogy. But I think science has been helpful to break down the literal interpretation of religion and its texts. Also, it encourages philosophical exploration. So just like with the God does not play with dice, a statement that Einstein made, despite it not being religious, it was about deterministic philosophy. Hearing about that we came from a singularity, a burst out of nothingness into everything, that the tiny little particles that make up everything are just potential waves that crash down to one point when observed, or that can change form, whether we're looking at them or not looking at them. Black holes are warping space-time. That time dilation is real. That time is different depending on what gravitational pull the planet that you're on has. Like, all these wonderful things that can help you start questioning and thinking, what is life? It helps us see ourselves as the chosen ones to be conscious of all of this, and also at the very same time not chosen at all and not special or significant at all in this grand scale universe. We are a little blip. The social and psychological sciences and biological science help us understand our own lives, our beings, how to live the best life. Science saves people, and we need science, and we need to be able to trust science. We also need science to be trustable, and that's another flip side of the coin. But it's really important that even the everyday person can trust science and can understand what science is, rather than look at it as a big sort of like controlling information hoarder overlord, which I think is sometimes what these conspiratorial groups, spiritual groups see science as. In this final chapter, I want to talk about that. I want to have some self-awareness, because I understand that this may be rich coming from someone who talks about spirituality and manifestation and who does tarot card readings. I know they may seem contradictory. So my background is a huge contradiction. I love everything science. I've always been curious. When I went to university, I majored in physics and pure maths. I like nonfiction. I read nonfiction. I've read lots of space books. I'm reading a particle physics book now, but I've also read philosophy books. I've also, do have a belief in something greater than the 3D world. Maybe one day science will explain that. Who knows? But I guess like my qualification to talk about this is, one, that I am a spiritual girly, and two, that I am also a science girly. I love science. I think it's fascinating, and I think it's spiritual. I think it's magical. When I learn about the weird and wonderful things particles do, or the crazy way the universe has come together due to, maybe it's sheer chance, but it's gravity, it's thermal processes, it's energy, it's momentum here, and just how it's all working together, and how all those like laws that we learn, we learn like Newton's 3 laws and the law of gravitation and stuff, and how they all come together to shape the physical world, the beautiful physical world that we live in currently. Like, I find that spiritual. That's a spiritual experience for me. Not because I think it's magic, but I think, how crazy is that? Like, how wonderful, how miraculous that this all occurred this way, which is why I don't get the argument that, flat earth, round earth, Big Bang, Genesis, like, why does the Big Bang have to mean that there is no God, or there is no higher power, or one love, or what have you? Like, why can't it be both? Again, why listen to me and not the other people who are talking about this stuff, whether they know what they're talking about or not? One, consider where it comes from. So this is that critical thinking again. My take is that it comes from a place of helpfulness from me and empowerment. Like, I want to use science to empower people, not to oppress them or to make them feel fearful. Like those TikTok examples that I gave you, they're all trying to like scare you, which I don't understand why we would want to do that. And they're trying to raise suspicion in science and suspicion in the government. And like, there are a thousand reasons to suspect the government is not acting in your best interest without needing to make up that the earth is flat. Point number 2. Willful ignorance as opposed to filling in missing pieces. There are things that obviously we don't understand yet. Like, science hasn't stopped, right? We haven't conquered science. There is still so much that we don't understand. And the more we know, we don't know. So it's still unfolding. Maybe let's fill in the missing pieces with religion, but let's not pretend that the 1,000 years of science that we've had so far, or thousands of years of science that we've had so far, are worthless and haven't shown us anything. That would be willful ignorance, aka pretending the earth is flat when it is round. I'm sorry, I just can't get over it, so that's why I keep bringing it up. It's just the main example to me that is just baffling. But again, I understand how people have manipulated spiritual and religious people to believe that, and how, and this is a whole other topic, how spirituality and like conspiracy, distrust of the government, all like overlap. And I think that's really fascinating. We'll talk more about that. I just want to say that you can be spiritual and not be willfully ignorant. You can be religious and not willfully ignorant as well. Science is not trying to take away your belief. And finally, science is always developing and it's evolving. That is the point of science. It's a thirst for knowledge and understanding. One day we may have the unity of science and spirituality. One day we may understand manifestation. One day we may understand why everyone feels, even people who claim to be atheist, feel like there's something to hope for, or a belief that something might happen miraculously, that a miracle might save them. We don't know yet, but let's not pretend that we don't know. You know, like, let's just accept that we don't know everything and that we'll probably maybe never know anything, because the more we know, the more there is to know. So let's accept that we don't know everything, and that's okay. It doesn't make what we know now wrong. It just means that we just keep searching. And isn't it fun to uncover the secrets of the universe? I want to finish this video with talking about where do we meet from here, because I don't want to alienate people who are spiritual or religious, or who have been duped into believing that the earth is flat, because it's been tied to religion. I said this is a really important point for me, because in those conversations that I had at that gathering about the flat earth, I was sort of explaining the theory about gravity and how the world was formed and stuff. And I think like it was probably maybe intimidating to talk to someone who actually knows a lot about this topic. And she was just kind of going like, but it's all love, it's God, blah, 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 blah. And I want to say that science does not exclude God. Like, I think that's the main takeaway that you should take away from this video. Science does not exclude God, does not exclude unity, oneness, beautiful spiritual feelings, souls, doesn't exclude that at all. Science has been politicized as well. If you want to talk about environmental science, pharmaceutical science, there are lots of examples. Obviously, in history, we've seen it politicized as well. Also, humans need meaning and purpose. And that's why religion has been so strong for millennia, since the world began, however you think that happened. People have always had some kind of religion or faith, and it's because it's out there, and maybe again we'll find scientific proof of it, or explanations for it. But humans have always had that need for meaning, for purpose, for faith, for something that ties us all together. And that's beautiful. I think that's wonderful. Let's keep that. I think religion can have a really positive impact on people. Think about the charities it like positive and negative. Like, I don't want to hear in the comments like, oh, but what about blah, blah, blah. Like, let's acknowledge that there's both, right? Good and bad. I think it gives people hope and faith, community. It can also take community from people. Like, again, good and bad. Yeah, again, just because science can explain something like the formation of the earth, or like the formation of the universe, or like the brain process for how we make decisions, or whatever it is, doesn't mean that there's not a soul, or there isn't spiritual beings around us. Again, there's so much that we don't know. Let's just not be willfully ignorant of what we do know. And also, science is not a cold and empty master. Science is beauty and magic. Science is a beautiful, fun, systematic tool to uncover the mysteries of the universe that we live in. It is not some evil, fear-mongering, cold overlord who wants to convince you not to believe in anything. Science is just like a curious kid trying to figure out what's going on. So that brings me to the end of the video. And I feel like I just scratched the surface with this one. I'm going to deep dive more into the Big Bang, quantum mechanics, its relationship with spirituality and religion, our understanding of who we are, where we came from, what's going on in the world. When I say what's going on in the world, I mean like, why are we here? Why are there humans? Why are we awake? Why is there consciousness? And we'll talk more about it. This is already a very long video. Main message: science is beautiful. It does not exclude God or spirit or source, divinity. Science is a powerful tool for us to live our best lives here on earth. It is a thing of beauty. It should be respected. And always look at information, videos, whatever you're being presented with a critical eye, and ask yourself, why would someone be trying to convince me of this, and what impact would that have on my life? And if the answer is they want me to be scared, or it would have no impact on my life if this thing was true, don't worry about it. Move on. Thank you so much for watching this terribly long video. I hope you took something away from it. I would love to have an insightful discussion down in the comments below. Keep it respectful, keep it kind, keep it curious, And yeah, let's go from here. I'm so excited to talk more about my science background and the things that I find fascinating about it, and spirituality and manifestation. If you'd like to ask me a manifestation question, you can do so on my website. I'll put the links below. There's also some free manifesting workbooks, and you can get a reading with me as well if you would like to. Yeah, what a video. Can't wait to do more. And sorry for disappearing for a while as well. It's been a hot minute, but I'm back and I'm excited. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!